Hello, hello. This is Mr. Munoz in Ms. Dingman's class. I am introducing an assignment in Ms. Dingman's English class because your assessment for our South Africa unit is going to be a joint humanities project. So we're going to start thinking about our assessment today, and I'm going to be introducing it next. Okay. The objectives for this Edpuzzle video is to introduce, to explain what the Truth and Reconciliation is, to explain why it was created, and then at the end, for you to think about the cases that are available for our TRC simulation or trial, mock trial. Okay. South African reconciliation and forgiveness is going to be the focus of our assessment. How do people cope with and deal with all of the injustices that they've been dealing with? How do we create a just society in an unjust society? Okay. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was an attempt to heal the nation and move forward after the end of apartheid. The apartheid government in South Africa officially ended in 1994. After it ended, it left South Africa in the middle of complex and social changes that were happening. Okay, there were a lot of people who supported apartheid, and there was a lot of resistance to apartheid. That led to a lot of violence between different political groups. Right, we talked about violent resistance and sabotage. And we've also read about and learned about oppression by the South African government and violence that they used against people. Okay. So at the end of apartheid, there's a new government that's created that has to find a way to deal with all of the injustices and to peacefully build a new nation, a new country that respects the rights of all of its citizens. And in order to do that, right, people had to be able to deal with what was happening. And the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was one way to deal with and to find or to seek justice in South Africa. The TRC stands for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It was formed in 1995 by the new South African government. It's led and chaired by Desmond Tutu, who was a popular bishop, Catholic bishop in South Africa, and he was anti-apartheid. So he led resistance against apartheid in South Africa. And the purpose of the TRC was to seek justice and to investigate human rights violations that were committed under apartheid, that were committed either by the government or by the people who were resisting and using violence against the government. And it was seeking reconciliation between all groups, colored people, Black South Africans, white South Africans, that had either been of injustices or had perpetrated and had acted and been unjust. To give you some vocabulary, reconciliation is the act of restoring to harmony, right? That harmony is broken when there is injustice, when people are victims of injustice. So reconciliation puts things together for people, seeks to create and bring back the idea or the feeling of justice. Okay. This is a quote from Desmond Tutu, who again was the leader of the TRC. He says, reconciliation is only possible if we build on the foundation of truth. Truth is important in reconciliation, and we'll see why later. Amnesia may be comforting, but in the end, it will prevent reconciliation rather than promoting it. Okay, so this idea of truth is important. This is another quote. Reconciliation depends on forgiveness, and forgiveness can only take place if gross violations of human rights are fully disclosed. Again, the main idea here is fully disclosed, meaning that people are honest and truthful. And then the other idea for reconciliation is forgiveness. Okay, and we're going to be talking about these two things next. The TRC could grant forgiveness or amnesty. People's crimes, people who committed a crime, their crimes could be forgiven or pardoned. The main idea, driving philosophy of the TRC, was that providing victims with the truth would help to facilitate, to create a healing process that could bring about justice, that could create justice in an unjust society. So the commission had the power to grant forgiveness, to grant amnesty. But in order to do that, three things had to happen. Three things had to be met. The first one was that the person who committed a crime, if they were applying for amnesty, first thing that had to be met is that they confessed to their crimes truthfully and they gave the full details of the events surrounding the deaths or torture. So if they killed someone, they had to disclose all of the information around their crime. The second thing that they had to prove that had to be met was that they showed that their murder was committed in a political context, either during a political uprising or on behalf of a political party or a political leader, and for political purposes rather than for personal purposes. Okay, so for this, think about resistance, people who are resisting apartheid and are using sabotage or have started using violence to resist apartheid. They would have to prove that the crime, if they killed someone, that it had to happen during a political uprising or on behalf of a political party or leader. Okay, and then the third thing that had to be proved if someone was seeking forgiveness was that the crime, the murder was committed, the murder that was committed was proportionate to their objective, meaning that there was not excessive violence that was used to kill someone or to murder someone. So they had to prove all of these three things, that all of these three things happened during the crime. And if all of these three things were proved, then they would be granted amnesty. And the commission would decide if the three things were met. If the perpetrator was granted amnesty, the commission decides that they meet the three criteria. The person then would not be prosecuted and they would not be punished for the crime. If the person was already serving a jail sentence, if they were already in jail and they met the three criteria, then they would be released from jail and they would be pardoned and forgiven. So the TRC was shown in South Africa. They had weekly TV shows that documented the commission's work and the cases, which made it difficult for South Africans to ignore the truth and what actually happened during apartheid. There were reparations that were given to some of the victims, but it was really small and minimal. And then people were heard. Victims were listened to and heard during public hearings. Okay. For our joint English and history assessment, you're going to be able to choose one of three actual cases that the commission heard. Okay. The first case is the Chris Hani case. Chris Hani was an extremely popular Black leader in South Africa, and he was killed. This is an actual person in South Africa who was a victim, and he was murdered. He was killed by two white men in 1993, right before South Africa's election, first multiracial election. So if you're interested in this case, you're not going to be able to choose what side you argue, but you would be arguing that the two white men who killed Chris Hani meet the three criteria for amnesty, or that they do not meet the criteria for amnesty. The second option is going to be the Beale case. Amy Beale, was an actual person who was murdered and killed. She was an American student. She was from Los Angeles and she was studying in South Africa. She was killed in 1993 by Black South Africans who believed that she was a white South African. Okay, so if you're interested in this case, you may be arguing that the killers of Amy Beale meet the three criteria for amnesty and forgiveness, or you may be arguing that they do not meet the three criteria for amnesty or forgiveness. You won't be able to choose your sides, but those are the sides you would argue. And your third option is going to be the McBride case. McBride was a colored person in South Africa. He was an anti-apartheid activist. Okay. In 1996, he planted a bomb in Durban near a bar that killed 3 people and injured close to 70 people. Okay. In this case, Robert McBride is the killer. He's applying for amnesty. So if you're interested in this case, you would either argue that he meets the 3 criteria for amnesty or that he does not meet the 3 criteria for amnesty. Okay. If you want more information about each case before you make your decision, you're going to go to Ms. Dingman's Canvas page, go to Modules, you're going to scroll down, and under Asynchronous Wednesday, you're going to click on TRC Cases Background Information. Okay. And there's information about each case. There is a summary and background information if you want to know more about each case before you make your decision. Okay. And then the important part, your assignment for today, is for you to rank your preferences. And you're going to do that by going to Ms. Dingman's Canvas page, go to Modules, you're going to scroll down, and under TRC Case Preferences, you're going to click and you're going to see a Google form. You're going to complete the Google form and you're going to rank your first choice for TRC case, your second choice for TRC case, and your third choice for TRC case. Okay. This is important. Make sure you get this done today. And you're going to start working on this next week and you'll get more information about this next week.